I love to listen in the morning. Jimmy Lakey on the radio. I got my coffee and cream. Jimmy's on the air. Wake up and start your day. Now go and tell all the neighbors, yeah. Then crank up the radio. There's infotainment, brilliance to get you on your way. Wake up and start your day with Jimmy Lakey.
Well, top of the morning to you. Thanks to the Jimmy Lakey Mass Choir. Been with me for many, many years. They're always so grateful to sing for us every morning. Glad to have you. Hey, it's Friday, everybody. Everybody, happy Friday to you. It's it's the 10th day. I got ahead of myself. It's the year of our Lord 2025, but it's the 10th day of January. And this is the Lakey Unleashed daily update. We have a whole slew of opportunities for you to be involved with the Lakey Unleashed broadcast channels. And one of these is watch the daily update every day. And the ways you can watch the interviews behind the closed doors of the Patreon account. We'll get all that here in just a minute. But wherever you're at this morning, happy Friday to all of you. I mean that very sincerely. How's your day going? Right now, Donald Trump is in a courtroom virtually. And he's in the courtroom virtually. And he's about to be sentenced by Judge Juan Merchan. Juan Merchan. Did he make coffee? No, that was Juan Valdez. Sorry, Juan Merchan. It sounds like a guy could make coffee. Juan Merchan. Trump says this is, I guess he's speaking, he's being allowed to state, he says this is a great embarrassment to the state of New York, and they're letting Donald Trump talk. Yesterday, the Supreme Court decided not to block the sentencing today, so this will all get now appealed, and it's not going to go anywhere. The sentencing is going to be basically vacating any punishment, but they're going to keep the felony there, so it will be very interesting to see how this all pans out. But Donald Trump is actually speaking in the courtroom, and I've got it here on my monitor on my right, and I'll keep you updated, but that is happening in real time in the East Coast and New York City courtroom. But again, Donald Trump is virtually appearing there via a computer, kind of like I'm virtually appearing to you. But by the way, here's something. If you ever have any of these crazy liberals, I thought this was a great response that say, Donald Trump is a felon. Donald Trump is a felon. I can't believe you voted for the felon. Here's how you retort to that. You say this right here. Yeah, he is a felon. It reminds me a lot of Nelson Mandela. And watch their jaws drop and go, oh, yeah, he kind of like Nelson Mandela was a felon. And doesn't mean it just meant that the corrupt powers of government were doing nasty things to good people. So there's your retort. That's free. That's free advice there. So feel free to let us know if you ever use that, if you'd like to do it. Happy Friday, everybody. It's good to have you here. Wildfires continue to burn in California. The Jimmy Carter funeral, that was a big fun yesterday, wasn't it? That was like the weirdest, big of a dysfunctional family gathered around the Thanksgiving table. Donald Trump seemed to be the only one not bothered by it. And Barry Obama, they were having a yuck into that time. We'll talk more about that in a moment. George W. Bush, he's aged, hasn't he? He looks like a reincarnation of his father. His father came back from the grave, and HW has reincarnated in the form of W. Hillary was there. She didn't look that happy. Doug and Kamala, I don't know if they just had a fight or something, or maybe he beat her down. I don't know what happened, but they did not look thrilled to be there at all. And I don't even think they even greeted anyone. Well, we're going to talk more about that. That's just kind of the highlight. Everybody watched that. That was really hilarious yesterday. Oh, Mike Pence was there. Old Mike, they said that was the first time that Donald Trump and him had intercourse, not like interaction, but that's probably a better way to say that, for a long time, and since maybe 4 years ago. So they shook hands cordially. What was the first thing I saw blow up on the internet is how Karen Pence pretty much just sat there on her hands and gave an icy stare. Didn't even greet Melania. Even if you don't like Donald, it seems like the wife would be nice to the wife. But no, Karen Pence sat there like a little bitty, and I'm sure she's a very nice lady. Always, a caveat like that. In the South, we say bless her heart. bless her heart, she just sat there on her big ass and didn't move. She was angry. So Karen Pence, she just knows that. What do you do if you're Mike and Karen Pence? You've kind of reached the pinnacle. You're never going to get back in the world of politics. You're not all that exciting of a couple. I mean, you're whatever, nice people, bless their hearts. But I mean, you got to be bored the rest of your life. It's kind of like retiring too early. You're like, well, the people retire too early with millions, and they say, I got to go be a greeter at Walmart now because the radio career didn't work out. Oh, that's me. I gotta. They retire too early. They go get a second job, a third job, or something like that. And I just have a feeling that Karen Pence is a bored little lady, and she just looked angry yesterday. So we'll talk more about that. There was a strange song selection there for the former president Jimmy Carter, the John Lennon song "Imagine." And a lot of folks say it's the antithesis of Christianity. It's an anti-God song. It's basically say if we could get rid of all this religion and just live for today, then it would be better. Imagine there's no heaven in the sky up above. Imagine there's no hell. And even though Trisha Yearwood and, there's two country people sang it, and it didn't seem to matter. It's a lot of controversy about that. And then the Republicans in the Senate have introduced term limits. We got to get to that this morning. Colorado Governor Jared Polis, we're going to get to this story. He has come out and said that he wants the federales to come into Colorado and help him deport all these illegals. So you got the mayor of Denver, Mike Johnson, who says that he's going to form a posse and he's going to stand at the city and county limits of Denver, and he's going to say, not on my watch, you're not taking these damn illegals. They're my illegals, for God's sake. And then you got Jared Polis, the governor of the state, saying, yeah, we got to get Tom Homan shipping the federales. Let's get these illegals out of here. So that's going to be a great brouhaha in Colorado. So because a lot of these governors, remember, were going to have the resistance. It was going to be all about resistance, and anything Donald Trump did to stop this immigration and deport people, they were going to stand up. And Gavin Newsom and Jared Polis linked arms for a while. A lot of these, Gretchen Whitmer, a lot of these governors all said, yeah, we're going to stand up against this. And now Jared Polis is like, no, I favor the federal agents removing the illegals out of here. So there's a big change. That again is a sign that there's going to be that's a sign that there's going to be a run for the presidency and for a little Jared Polis coming up. All right, back to New York. New York versus Trump. The sentencing is live in the courtroom. Judge Juan Merchan is now addressing the courtroom. Donald Trump has said his piece. He was able to speak to the court and go on the record and said this was a disgrace for the state of New York. And I think all people expect this will be overturned anyway, but Merchan's not going to vacate the felony, but he sounds like he's just going to say, we're all done. Thank you. Everybody go home. So Merchan is speaking to the court, according to the news media right now, and Trump is virtually attending. He's only on computer. I'm guessing Juan Merchan is there in person. So we're expecting that verdict to come at any moment, or that sentencing to come at any moment, and we will keep you posted up here in real time as it happens. Anyway, good morning to you. However you're listening to us, make sure that you, if you would, make a comment at Facebook. I see some Rumble comments coming in, some Facebook comments coming in. We got folks on the Twitter this morning. I know we had somebody on the Instagram that checked it. The Instagram page, the Instagram folks said, Jimmy, are you still on 600 KCOL? Maybe I'm looking in the wrong place now. No, you're watching it on Instagram. You can watch it. Trying to find me. This is the new format. KCOL canceled me the end of November. This person is on the struggle bus here. Maybe I'm looking at the wrong place. No, you're on the right place. You're commenting on a live video, which is the actual show. I don't know how much more clear can I make that? Do we have the Geek Squad? We need to send them out on the Instagram feed and help some folks out. If anybody works for Geek Squad, go over to Instagram, and we're streaming live there. The live stream from the Instagram, the comments don't show up right here in the studio, but I will get to them because I'm in the Instagram page right now, and I can see you in real time. All right, we're going to go through some of this news that I got to get to, and we got some great guests coming up on the program. Don't forget, subscribe to the Patreon page, patreon.com/Jimmy Lakey. Yesterday, I did a fascinating interview that I was supposed to be 15-20 minutes. It was with Leighton Gray. He's a lawyer from Canada. And the interview ended up going like 45 minutes. It was fascinating as we dove deep into the Justin Trudeau Canadian north of the border saga. And there's a couple of things going on. Justin Trudeau announced his intention. He announced his intention to He announced his intention to resign, but he has not submitted a formal letter of resignation. But what he also did is he disbanded the government, and so the parliament can't even meet there. So no one knows if Justin Trudeau is really stepping down. Anyway, that's an interview with Leighton Gray that's going to be on the podcast, the Behind the Paywall podcast. It's patreon.com/Jimmy Lakey. That will drop on Monday. If you want to understand everything happening north of the border, anything happening up in further Canadian brethren and sistren, it was fascinating. We talked everything about the Canadian Mounties. And, how we have this idealistic representation or viewpoint of what the Mounties are. And he pretty much slammed that and said, it's wrong, it's not right, it's stupid. It's crazy what he said. You got to watch this interview. It's really good with Leighton Gray. We went about 45 minutes, and I'm telling you, you gotta subscribe. It's free subscription for 7 days. Well, there's a free level. You can just get free stuff all the time. But there's also a paid level behind the paywall, and that's going to be $9.95 per month. $9.95 per month, and at $9.95 per month, a 7-day free trial. You don't like it, boom. But that Leighton Gray interview is going to drop Monday. Patreon.com/Jimmy Lakey. All right, we got clarity in the Instagram room. The person said, "No, I was on the iPad looking for you. Maybe I'm in the wrong place." So they realized this morning on their iPad, trying to listen to the old radio show, that I'm not there. And I kind of have my feelings hurt now that it took you from, we're mid-January. It's been almost 60 days since I got poop canned out of the iHeart Kingdom, and you're just now figuring that out. That hurts right here. It hurts in my heart just a little bit that it took someone that long to figure out that I was no longer on there. All right, the Trump sentencing is in. Court is dismissed. There's no prison time, no probation, no conditions. You're just going to have to wear the albatross of a felony around your neck. That was the edict from Judge Merchan. This will immediately get appealed. I'm sure the Trump team already is at the courthouse appealing this to the New York Supreme Court, and we'll walk it up there on unjust prosecution or something, whatever it is, but it's all done. Judge Merchan is washing his hands and walking away now from this whole saga in Washington. He's sentenced to an unconditional discharge. There's no sentencing, there's no prison time, there's no probation. And even though you would think that, I'm sure Trump wanted this whole thing vacated and like the felony to go away and not have to appeal any further, think about what a disappointment this has to be for Merchan. Merchan was thinking he was going to go down in folklore as a guy that put Donald Trump in prison for the rest of his life. You had Fani Willis, you had all these cases that fell apart, Jack Smith, all these cases against Donald Trump that the Democrats waged legal warfare, lawfare against him, hoping, first of all, he would not win. Second of all, if he did get the nomination, he would become unelectable. And the best case scenario for them, they wanted to lock his butt up for the rest of his life as a 70-something-year-old man. And Merchan basically says, okay, I got a conviction, but nothing else. I mean, the whole thing has fallen apart. And I think a lot of folks start to recognize we had a very evil system going on. A lot of evil stuff going on against Donald Trump, and it's really sad. But Trump is, again, sentenced to an unconditional discharge. There's no prison, no probation, no conditions. That is breaking news coming out of New York, even at this moment. All right, the California fires. Anybody following those? I've got two different friends. Three. Anyway, I've got several people to say. I've got one friend of mine yesterday said he had two friends that lost their houses in the Malibu area or Santa Monica area. A friend the other day said his cousin lost his home near Palisade Hills. I don't know anybody in those areas, but I've got friends that evidently have a lot of friends out there. So I'm evidently friends with some good people, and a lot of folks losing their house out there. Is there anything more on display that exposes the incompetence of these leaders out there? Is this ever going to be enough of a wake-up call for there to be a come to Jesus meeting with the voters and Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass, this mayor? I mean, the fire department in LA is saying, they're asking them, why didn't the fire hydrants work? They said, well, we thought they did, but we couldn't test them because we had no budget to test them. Karen Bass cut $17 million. They decided that the top priority of the firefighters should be the fire department should be diversity, equity, and inclusion. And thus it came out this week that you find out you end up with a lesbian fire chief. Now, someone posted this up. I did not say this. Someone posted this up and said, wow, a lesbian fire chief. This could be one firefighter calendar that I would want to see. I don't think it's that kind of calendar. But so but that was the priorities, making sure that they had somewhat of diversity, equity, and inclusion, not necessarily the most competent people out there. And the fire hydrants weren't working. There were 6 dams around the LA area that Gavin Newsom, for environmental reasons, has dismantled. It's just really fascinating that this is what's going on. The reservoirs weren't there for water. They're trying to protect this little fish smelt, and so they've diverted billions of gallons every year to the Pacific Ocean because they don't want to fill up reservoirs because this little fish can't survive in that type of water, that much water. They stopped allowing people to burn, or the forest department could not come in and clear out the underbrush of the forest because they said it might hurt a bunny rabbit, or you've got to leave it in its natural state. And now they're just absolutely positively going to positively have destroyed that place. And Gavin Newsom is to blame. Karen Bass is to blame. Donald Trump said, hey, Gavin, you ought to resign. In disgrace and shame, he absolutely should resign. I totally agree. I saw that producer Chad had the quote that California officials, Gavin Newsom failed in his Rudy Giuliani moment. Gavin Newsom, Gavin Newsom's out watching the fire. You see that? He's out watching the fire, and some woman comes up and says, you've caused this. And he goes, I'm trying to talk to the president. Leave me alone. And I'm thinking, is he really going to talk to the president? The president's having ice cream right now. The president does not know what is happening at this moment. So just tell me, this is such a feckless display of leadership, and what you get when diversity, equity, and inclusion and your agenda is more important than the people that you serve. That's what you are watching on display. You're watching it on display in California. The agenda of the far radicalized left, the agenda of the environmentalists, the agenda of the diversity, equity, and inclusion crowd, that was bigger priority than actually serving the people. It really is sick and stupid. And Gavin Newsom, I think, has proven, and Karen Bass are incompetent idiots. And I heard it said that Gavin Newsom can't get too close to the fire because his hair might blow up and catch on fire, which is probably true. A lot of grease in that stuff. Somebody said, is the International Olympic Committee going to help rebuild LA? Well, if you recall, the Olympics always lose. They're money losers. They're not money generators. It took Mitt Romney to come in and rescue the Salt Lake City Olympics. They're always losing money on the Olympics. So I don't think the Olympic Committee's awash in funds to help rebuild LA. Right now, at least 10 are dead, at least. There's really no way to know. Over 10,000 homes, at least, businesses destroyed. And all of it, so much of it, would have been preventable had Gavin Newsom. Listen, if you're listening in California, if you have friends in California, it's just going to be the clarion call, the wake-up call for people of California to realize you have put people in power that are more about an agenda than they are about the people that they serve. That's what's happened in California, and it's very disgraceful, and it's very distasteful. And I hope the people of California wake up. A lot of folks have lost everything there, and it's just really, really sad. Steve comments on the YouTube feed. Good morning, Steve, over on YouTube. All of you YouTubers over there. Hundreds of fire hydrants in Los Angeles have been stolen for scrap metal in the past year. I've heard that's true. Right? They didn't test them. They cut $17 million. They didn't have enough staff. They also, remember, Los Angeles, because they were so in on the booger cootie virus, the shot, we can't say it, or the tube will shut us down. The old Pfizer thing, right? They said that was a requirement. And they cut a lot of their staff because they refused to get the old vaccination. They lost a lot of staff there, and over the couple of years, and they're short on staff plus short on budget, and it has all formed the perfect storm that turned into a very perfect firestorm. Jim says it's a little early in the fire process, but it will be very interesting to see how they prioritize the building process when determining who gets to rebuild first. Did you see the Palisade Hills? I mean, it looks like I don't know the area that well. I do spend some time in Southern California, more so when I was in the music industry, but I was in more of the commercial areas, not necessarily the residential. But I mean, it looks like blocks after blocks after blocks of places just obliterated by this fire. And again, is there any other way to look at this? You look at all the things that have been screwed up and all the coverage that's happened here, and it's awful. And a lot of it preventable because Gavin Newsom, though, didn't want to prevent it. Gavin Newsom, again, dismantled the dams and reservoirs, refused to let new dams and reservoir Gavin Newsom diverted water that could have been in these hills, watering these hills, filling reservoirs in these hills, filling creeks and riverbeds in these hills, but he was afraid of the little fish he smelt, and it was a man-made drought. You know, sometimes they say the act of God is going to get you, and it's going to be an act of God. Sorry, I'm getting a note here from offside. It's going to be, yeah. Sorry, it totally distracted me. So it's not an act of God. This is an act of man-made goofiness is what this is. This is man-made silliness. And in that man-made silliness, it's really sad. Lives have been destroyed. All right, breaking news story again. Donald Trump has been sentenced, quote unquote, an unconditional discharge, no prison, no probation, no conditions. This will be appealed immediately. All right, in just a second, I want to play a little video here for you, producer Chad. I mentioned this interview that's going to go up behind the paywall in just a bit. This interview that was going to go up behind the paywall, and on Monday with Leighton Gray. There's another one that hit with Dr. John Thorpe earlier this week, and this is the last that I will preview it. It was about a 40-minute interview as well, and he talks about the mad science that went behind it was happening in the COVID and how hospitals and pharmaceuticals, there was a lot of money changing hands, and they had to stay on message so that they kept the money. Even if the message was wrong, they had to say what was wrong so that the hospitals and doctors could keep the money. Producer Chad, could you run the Dr. John Thorpe conversation? I would appreciate that, sir. Go ahead and run that one.
Everybody off by money. Over $5.5 trillion was spent. And even the New York Times and Washington Post, even these liberal rags, don't know and cannot account where it went. I'll tell you where it went. My research team has published extensively on it. It went to bribe every single thread of the fabric of our society to enter into these quid pro quo arrangements, quid pro quo, called cooperative care agreements, where these are medical organizations, hospitals, pharmacies, churches, individuals of prominence, mainstream media, and they were allowed to keep the money without paying it back as long as they did not deviate from the narrative. That's exactly why many physicians, including myself, who spoke out, I was fired from SSM Health July 29th, 2023. I was heralded as a model physician for this massive Catholic healthcare system, yet the CEO, Laura Kaiser, and one of her underlings called me into the office and said, hey, we have to let you go. You've been a model physician, but we have to let you go. No cause. And by the way, if you sign this agreement, we'll give you 90. They tried to bribe me with a non-disclosure or non-disparagement clause. I said, no, thank you. And I was allowed 120 days of work with pay because I didn't take the bribe. They fired me on the spot. They had to, otherwise because they took $306.9 million, they would have had to pay that back if they didn't fire me. These people knew, these hospital administrators knew. I fed them the data that they were killing and injuring their employees and their patients. They didn't care.
There it is. That is Dr. John Thorpe, and he is talking about the interaction and the collusion that happened for the sake of the almighty dollar between a lot of medical professionals and the big pharmas. And you got to watch the interviews behind the paywall, patreon.com/Jimmy Lakey, patreon.com/Jimmy Lakey, patreon.com/Jimmy Lakey, exclusive content. And there is going to be a fantastic conversation that drops on Monday It's going to drop on Monday, and it will be fantastical. It is going to be absolutely wonderful with Dr. Leighton Gray talking about all things Canada. All right, word is spreading about the great podcast. I tell people if you're on the Rumble, would you tag all your friends and say, "Hey, watch Lakey. He's on Rumble. He's a new good guy," and help grow the audience. If you're on the YouTube, share this thing out. Let's get as many people out there as possible. I appreciate it. There's Obnoxious Scott saying, "Hello, fellow Rumblers. Help Jimmy's stream numbers and hit that thumbs up button, please." Yes, please do that. I would appreciate it if you would hit that thumbs up number indeed. And also, don't forget the comments we do see. Somebody else just asked me, Jimmy, are you streaming on any app? Right now, we're streaming live, and this is not being loaded up as a podcast on all of the podcasting devices. However, you can always go back on the YouTubes and you can watch it at real time. So a lot of the reasons people will want to hear it on iTunes or something like that is because they get notifications. Listen, if you subscribe to the Patreon, even on the free level, you will get a notice every time an interview drops there, whether it's a paid interview or it's a free interview, whether this show drops up there, you're going to get a notification. And Patreon is an app, and you can watch it right there on your Patreon. And you don't have to worry about a thing. You just subscribe, and it's a free membership on Patreon, unless it's not free. And then you got to pay for that. But there's a lot of stuff behind the paywall. And it's going to be, it's good stuff. It really is. You want to make sure that you are participating and reading and watching and sharing and helping us grow the audience. All right, everybody. Again, breaking news this morning. We're going to switch gears here just a moment. But unconditional discharge for Donald Trump. No prison, no probation, no conditions of anything. And Donald Trump addressed the court and said this was a disgrace. And Judge Marchand said a couple of things. And it's all going to appeal, and it's all kind of said and done. And no matter how you slice it, what a disappointing day for those that were trying to prosecute President Trump and persecute him and trying to knock him down. And suddenly all they get is a nice speech in the hallowed halls and the hallowed venues of the New York courtroom. They just get a nice speech. That's all they get. Just a nice speech. And that was it. That was it. Nice speech. No prison time. They wanted to lock him up forever, but nothing happened. All right, let me welcome in a guest here. I was talking about the Dr. Leighton Gray interview that's going to drop up on Patreon on Monday. You want to make sure you subscribe. Let me bring in another Canadian. Her name is Karen Strohan. She's been a guest on my radio program back in the terrestrial radio signal days. She is a critic of feminism and advocate for men's rights based in the Edmonton, Alberta area. Mother of three children, best known for her infamous YouTube channel, which is called Girls Rights What? That's a tongue tangler for me this early in the morning. Anyway, let's welcome into the program, if I may, Karen Strohan. She's in the virtual studio. We bring her up in real time. Karen, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. It's 8:30 a.m. in Edmonton, and it's still dark.
Oh my goodness, it's beautiful. It's 8:30 here as well, but it's beautiful, sunny, and kind of bright outside because the snow. We had a little snow early this week, and so put your sunglasses on. That sun's reflecting off the snow. I don't mean to give you weather jealousy, but
I think I hate you. You know, I always liked you, Jimmy, but now you've ruined it.
I've screwed it up. It happens with me and women all the time. I promise you, it's not the first time.
You just say the wrong thing, and that's it.
Sometimes I just look the wrong way. Oh, don't look at me like that. Happens out of it. Hey, help us understand Europe. You're in Canada. Obviously, we've stated that. There's been a lot of talk in America about Canada, and maybe you guys could have been the 51st state. We had high hopes of Justin Trudeau becoming a governor. What's the word on the street there in Canada, in Alberta, where you're at, when you hear this fodder happening in the American political world?
Oh, it's never going to happen. It's never going to happen. You know why it's never going to happen? Because Trump doesn't want it. He would not want it. He's already annoyed that there's a whole bunch of people in the U.S. that don't speak English. Well, we got a whole province full of francophones who do nothing but gobble up equalization cash from provinces like Alberta and then convert it into endless complaints about how their federally codified special treatment just isn't special enough, right? So what, does he really want to deal with that? Does he really want to give more electoral college seats than California has to a population that would put Justin Trudeau in power for 9 years? Does he really want to do that? I don't think so. I don't
Yeah.
think so. So, I mean, he was making a joke to humiliate Trudeau. And then a bunch of people on both sides of the border took it seriously as a serious proposal, right? And you got to understand how Trump's mind works. He starts off with an unreasonable opening bid in a negotiation. That was the 25% tariffs, right?
Yeah.
Across the board. Unreasonable, right? But it's designed to make anything that he offers after that look more reasonable than it otherwise would. Okay, so it's a negotiation tactic. And now that's the 25% tariffs are no longer his unreasonable opening bid. Now it's like we're going to annex Canada, right? Because everybody's taking it seriously. And it's like that, I forget what show that is, with the guy who, the meme, congratulations, you played yourself. Yeah, congratulations, Canada. You played yourself.
I kind of said that Justin Trudeau came down, went to Mar-a-Lago, and whined and complained. He says, "Please don't give us those tariffs. Don't give us those tariffs." And that's when the 51st governor or 51st state came about. It was shortly after that. I know Trudeau, from my vantage point, had his popularity had not it had peaked. He was done. He was heading down the keister.
Peaked in his first term.
Yeah, he peaked, and the popularity was very low. Did the falling apart of his government and his announce that he intends to resign, was that part and parcel in any way to Canadians? And his party said, "You just got humiliated down in America. You look like a little wimpy fella going down there whining." Is that part of it?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of straws on that camel's back. Like basically, he won a majority government in what was it, 2015. Then he was reelected with a minority government in 2019. So he needed help from other parties in order to get anything passed, get anything done. And the Conservative Party took the popular vote, won the popular vote in that election, and they won the popular vote in the 2021 election. And, Trudeau he brokered this backroom deal with the devil, NDP leader Jagmeet Singh, to basically prop up his government and say yes to everything Trudeau wanted to get rammed through the parliament. And Jagmeet whipped his party into compliance, and the NDP have basically been propping up a minority liberal government this entire time. But he does not have majority support in this country. He has, if you look at all of Canada right now, 47, I think is about 47% of Canadians are planning on voting Conservative. But if you take Quebec out of the equation, because they've got their spoiler party, a federal party that's basically just about Quebec separatism and Quebec interests. If you take them out of the equation, that support for the Conservative Party goes up to something like 56% across the country, right? So everybody is fed up with this guy, and I don't know. He's basically said, "Well, we're going to have a liberal leadership race for the party, and whoever the Liberal Party chooses to replace me is going to become prime minister." And I just don't see anybody who's going to be willing to do it, because the Liberals he's tainted the Liberal Party with his own unpopularity, and nobody's going to want to take over and just clean up the mess at the expense of their political future, right? Like nobody's going to volunteer for that. Is it like, ooh, a political suicide mission? Count me in, right? Like, I'm sorry, he's just not going to get any takers of any quality. And by the moment that Parliament, because Parliament's prorogued right now, it's not in session until the end of March, and I think the 25th. And the moment that Parliament resumes session between the Conservatives and the Bloc Québécois, they're going to get together and push a motion of no confidence, and then there's a snap election that has to happen within 51 days. So there's not going to be any time for whoever takes the reins of the Liberal Party to
undo the damage of
Yeah.
Justin Trudeau. It's not going to happen.
No.
If you're just listening on the audio, this is the voice of Karen Strohan. She's got a blog and a YouTube channel. We'll talk more about that in just a moment. Karen, I knew you were on the program, and I want to see if you can see your screen. I found this meme, and I know you're modern day, and you're an anti-feminist advocate. I'll let you explain what that means. But I want you to see this meme that I have up here. The first wave of feminism, we want to be equal to men. The second wave of feminism says we don't need men. And now we're in the third wave where the women are declaring we are men. We identify as men. Is that kind of part and parcel of the feminist movement in the world?
Except for I think they got first wave feminism wrong. They didn't want to be equal to men. And second wave feminism got it wrong. They didn't want men, but they did need them. And third wave feminism, yeah. Actually, it's more fourth wave, though.
Fourth wave. Kind of talk about your passion and this when you're known as a critic of feminism and an anti-feminism crusader. What does that mean? And talk about your YouTube channel, Girl Writes What?
Okay, well, the YouTube channel has a series of videos, often based on political analysis or evolutionary psychology, so evolved sex differences in the men's and women's preferences and emotional responses to things, and just the way we think, what we're interested in, and how we behave. And so basically, my anti-feminism is based on the fact that their description is wrong, right? Their diagnosis is wrong, right? They say, oh, men and women aren't equal. And it's because of society. And, when you look at this, what in that meme there, men, we are men. Well, that was second wave feminists that started all of that. They opened a Pandora's box with this thing called the social constructionist theory of gender that posited that the only reason why men and women aren't equally interested in things like nursing or teaching kindergarten or engineering or becoming soldiers or whatever. The only reason for that is because they've been socialized into gender differences in their preferences and in their choices and behavior. And that's just not the case. These are, you can see sex differences in behavior in every single animal on the planet. Even the ones that look where you can't tell the difference, like, say, some New World monkeys, you can't tell the difference by looking between a male and a female. You still see sex differences, fewer of them, but you still see sex differences in behavior and psychology. So it's, basically how they operate and what they react to. So I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, they got the diagnosis wrong. So every cure, they're just trying every cure, and every cure they try just makes things worse. So, when you look at big, huge 51 countries, I believe, they did a big analysis of occupational choices, and educational choices of men and women. And what they found was the more equal and modern a society was, and the more free women were and prosperous, the more free women were to make the choices that they wanted to make, the more likely they were to choose to be a nurse rather than an engineer, or a kindergarten teacher rather than a mathematician, right? So you're looking at, okay, if you're a woman in India, you just want a job and you want a good job, so you go into computer science.
Yeah. Karen, if somebody wants to follow the YouTube channel, my tongue gets tangled up when I try to say it this early in the morning. It is daylight here. Girl writes what? What?
Yeah.
That's still a tongue twister right there. Girl Writes What? Karen, it is a pleasure. Stay warm up there in Canada. I hope you get some sunshine real soon.
Oh, yeah, no. Today's supposed to be nice. Above freezing.
Above freezing. Wow. The frozen tundra of Canada, Alberta. Karen, appreciate you hopping on. Thank you very much. A Girl Writes What on the YouTube, and you can follow along. And I just find this whole Canada thing fascinating, and I think Karen is probably right that that's what Donald Trump does. He starts with a hyperbolic demand, a hyperbolic statement, and that's part of the negotiation skill. And then some people freak out and think it's all going to be serious, and in reality, it's not all that serious. It's just a negotiating standpoint, and he's taking his stand. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the stolen memes section of the show. And we're going to do the stolen memes. First of all, we talked about California a lot. I thought this was good. It's a picture of Nancy Pelosi and old Gavin Newsom in the stolen meme section. And guess what? They built this, and I'll say crap hole. All right, they built it. It's their fault. If you want to know what it is, there it is, the stolen meme section. We built this poop hole. Come to Cali, where you can poop on the sidewalk, shoot up in public, sleep in a tent, roast marshmallows on any one of our statewide fires. We built this poop hole, and there's the stolen meme. There's Gavin Newsom and Nancy Pelosi standing there. All right, so yeah, now let's go to something more family friendly, if we may. You know George Jetson? Anybody meet George Jetson? Anybody remember the Jetsons? I always loved that one. In the story, George Jetson was born in the year 2022, and so George Jetson is going to turn 3 years old this year. Just letting you know, George Jetson is going to be 3 years old this year, because in that futuristic cartoon, he was born in the year 2022. And so that means we're what? How old? Maybe he was in 40s, and that's when he had the flying cars and the robots. So maybe we're closer to the flying cars and robots than we thought. So the stolen meme section of the show, George Jetson, happy third birthday, whichever day it is. The next stolen meme I have is we did the feminism one, and with Karen Strohan, and that was she debunked it. She says it's not necessarily accurate, but it's not bad. First wave of feminism, we want to be equal to men. Second wave, we don't need the men. And third wave, we are men. And that's kind of the way it goes. All right, this one, I'm going to tell you, if you thought the first one might be a little offensive, where we built this poop hole, talking about California, this right here, my friends, will get you banned from the family cookout every time. I don't know if they sell these in the stores or these were custom made, but it's a wiener holder. And and the guy that posted this is Carnivore Dad. I stole it from him. And it says, and just like that, I was never invited to any more family cookouts. So listen, if you're trying to avoid going to the in-laws' house for cookouts this summer, and you're just trying to be a little bit more, or maybe the annoying neighbor doesn't want you to, always want you to come over, have a barbecue. If you get a hold of some of these and you do this at the cookout, this is a surefire way for you to get uninvited. You're welcome. Let's go back to the one, the Obama and Trump sitting there. And what do you think they were saying together? Put some words in their mouth. This is their question of the day. Donald and Barack are going back and forth. This one, the words are, and then he said that if he had stayed in the race, he would have won, Donald saying to Barack, and Barack is laughing. I saw another one where Donald is whispering in the ear and supposedly saying, come on, she has to be retarded, right? She's retarded. Speaking of old Kamala up there. So let me, give me your thoughts. And that's the question of the day. What were they talking about? What were being said? Caption this photo. Capture that photo. Give us a caption, and you can do that. And we're going to come back, talk more about that funeral here in just a minute. But caption that photo. What were Trump and Obama really talking about? Were they discussing the mental health of Kamala Harris? Were they talking about whether Doug really smacked down that woman in Great Britain that time? Were they talking about what they heard Willie Brown say about Kamala Harris? Were they talking about Hillary and her kinkles? Were they talking about Bill and Monica? What were they talking about? Because they are obviously seeming to have a good time. And so everybody capture that video, that meme that we just saw. Give it a capture. We'd love to have you participating in the conversation by telling us what you think that caption of the video should be. All right, let's do a couple of more stolen memes. Far right. Anybody ever get called far right? Well, I'm telling you, stop calling us far right, because you should be calling us right so far. Now, that's probably true. All of the things that we were told were conspiracy theorists, conspiracy theories, a lot of them have proven not to be theories. They have proven to be truth, and it's proven to be science in many instances. So, yeah. I like that one. I like this one a lot. The comment that says, they were talking about Big Mike. Maybe they were talking about Big Mike because Michelle Obama wasn't there. Michelle Obama mysteriously had an extended vacation that she could not be interrupted for a funeral, and so she was not there. And a lot of controversy there. All right, so caption that photo. We'd like you to do that. Oh, by the way, talk about the California fires. We'll come back to talk about the funeral. I got a great guest coming in here in just a second, but I want you to do this. Look, if you will, at this picture of David Moore, who's an ABC News anchor and correspondent. He's out there covering the fire. And he made a mistake of turning around, and so that he looked more demure, if you will, in his ABC danger jacket. He had it close pinned together because he did not want to have it look too baggy on his physique. Is that the height of arrogance? It just seems like at a moment where you're trying to report and give information to America and people are losing their house and livelihood, you're taking time to put on extra makeup and to clip the back of your jacket with clothespins so that you can be very demure. David Moore, anchor, ABC, I think he's ABC, whatever he's on, I don't watch it. And this is a guy that we're supposed to take seriously. He was a moderator for one of the presidential debates, as if he's a real journalist out there, really interested in the facts. No, it shows you, it's kind of like the news coverage. It shows you it's all about what you see on camera. It's behind the scenes of what's holding the jacket together. You see them read a nice script on the television cameras. It's behind the scenes. It's really part and parcel of what's happening here. It's behind the scenes, who's squeezing their jacket together, who's got their hand up there moving their mouth. They're just reading a script, my friends. David Moore is not a journalist. A lot of these folks are not journalists. They are readers and they are actors, and they just play the part, look good, and they read and say whatever is on the teleprompter for them to say. All right, I want to bring into the program my next guest. His name is Bernie Mullen. And we'll have a quick conversation with Bernie. Bernie is the author of a book. He's a marketing expert, but the book is called Reimagining America's Dream. And he first arrived in the United States in the 1970s. He was a guest on my terrestrial radio show, and I'm happy that he's joining me here today. We're going to continue just a little bit of conversation, but he's, again, the name of his book, Reimagining America's Dream. We'll come back, talk more about the funeral of Jimmy Carter. We'll talk more about the California fires, but Bernie Mullen is here. Bernie, good morning to you, sir. How are you?
I'm wonderful, Jimmy. Thank you again for having me on. It's good to see you.
For those who don't know, I'm based in Colorado. You're based in Colorado also, aren't you?
Yes, sir. Right here in Denver.
Yeah, I'm just up the highway a little bit north of you. We could meet for lunch if we wanted to, but you probably have much better offers than that. So.
Oh, I don't know. That sounds pretty good, Jimmy. I'm up for a good Colorado breakfast. You know.
Yeah. Exactly. Let's dive into this thing. I was talking to a guest just a moment ago from Canada, and Justin Trudeau has resigned. A lot of different reasons. High cost of living on the top of the list. High cost of living is one of those things that's going to get a politician, and it's interesting that the high cost of living in Canada seems to take out Justin Trudeau, but high cost of living in California, Colorado, we continue to have the same type of government. Give me your thoughts here.
Yeah, well, I think the real reason, I'm not an expert on Canadian politics, but, ran a business in Canada. We did the Canadian Hockey League, the Canadian Football League, Canadian Soccer League for years as clients. So spent a lot of time. Canadian people are amazing people, great people, very resilient people. I just think he lost his power base. When his right-hand person quit his cabinet, that was it. When you don't have your people around you anymore, I think that sends a message. And eventually Justin said, I don't have the support, so it's time to move on, find someone else. And I think the point, Jimmy, a lot of Americans are not aware that the Liberal Party in Canada and in Britain is much more centrist. It's not extreme left. So
let me ask you, we come back here into America, and again, I think that's a great distinction between the Liberal Party that they have, and then the people that sometimes try to run the Democrat Party here, because you have some pretty extreme views in the Democrat Party here, not pragmatic. They really screwed up what we would define as liberal here in America.
Completely. No, completely. I mean, the liberals here in the Democratic Party are extreme left. They're the woke. They're the ones that lost them the election. There's no two ways about it that Biden, to get the nomination, had to bend over backwards to the left of the Democratic Party for the last 4 years. And a lot of the craziest policies have done that. I mean, along with the fundamental issue that you've already talked about, Jimmy, which is cost of living. My book, Reimagining America's Dream, is about how do we bring America back together. And big surprise, it's based on Pew Research of what are the top 10 social issues that Americans are concerned about and voting about. And number one, it's always going to be the income stupid. It's always going to be the income gap. It's going to be people who, the 37 million Americans who are living below the poverty line. And, I don't care how right wing you are, you want everybody in the country to have an opportunity to have the American dream. And you can't have the American dream if you're living below the poverty line. So that's
I'm,
what we have to solve it, is
I'm,
get
I'm
rid of the
watching.
income gap.
I'm watching these fires in California,
Oh,
and we can say what we want about the Gavin Newsom and things. But what's amazing is you're talking about the reimagining the American dream. There's people out there, good people, right, center, left, or whatever, but they're just pursuing the American dream. They're just trying to
yeah.
build a home, build a livelihood, and you find out that part of that dream has been destroyed, and then you find out it's been destroyed because politicians cut $17 million off the fire department. They prioritize not good firefighting, but diversity, equity, inclusion. You find out that Gavin Newsom has just helped destroy people's American dream, if you will, because he destroyed dams and reservoirs and wouldn't let the underbrush of forest be cleared. This wasn't really an act of God. It was an act of stupidity of people, politicians who have harmed people in their state from pursuing and continuing the American dream. They've destroyed the American dream.
For 30 years. For 30 years. I mean, I understand the right of whatever the hell the name of this little dinky fish is that they're trying to protect. But that above 10,000 homes, hundreds of thousands of people's lives, it makes no sense. I mean, California, start off with the fact that they won't provide the power. So in 10 years, it's supposed to be every car on the road in California has to be electric. And there's no way in hell you've got an electric grid that can provide the power for that many cars. I mean, the left and the right hand are not coordinated. I mean, these policies make no sense. So let's start off with the fact that you've had plenty of rain in California. If you kept it in the state, in the reservoir, in the underground system, then you would have had the water resources to do this. I mean, the reality, Jimmy, is, unfortunately, the media can hype stuff, but there's no way in hell that when you've got, I don't know how many thousand contiguous homes in Pacific Palisades, and I've been out there doing business all the time. Pepperdine is one of our clients, so we go right along PCH, Pacific Coast Highway, all the time out to Malibu. I know exactly where all these houses are burnt down. There's no way that you can have enough water in the hydrant system for 1,000 houses in a contiguous neighborhood to be watered and for the fire trucks to put the fires out. We understand that. That's really not the issue. It's the manpower issue with the budget cuts, to prioritize homeless people ahead of the people that are making the tax base. And I understand the sensitivity of it. But like you said, the bottom line is these are decisions made by politicians who are pulled in an extreme direction, and they will pay the consequences.
I hope so. I was asking when will these states like Colorado has some crazy policies as well, not as extreme as California, but will California wake up? I hope they do. And you were talking about the plenty of rain they've had in California. How many people in California really believe the problem in California, this drought, and the reason things are so dry and it's a tinderbox? There's probably a lot of people believe that it's that global warming, so they want to drive the electric cars, and the problem with California's drought right now is because all the rainwater is not being kept in the state, is flowing out of the Pacific Ocean. It's really not necessary. They want to talk about man-made climate change. We have a man-made drought in some areas of California because they won't keep the water.
Correct. Absolutely correct. It's that simple. It isn't that simple because then you've got to build the reservoirs and, I can remember as a young boy playing soccer in North Wales in Britain, and there being protests again, when I was from Liverpool, and there's been protests because some of the valleys in North Wales had been taken over, cleaned out, and turned into reservoirs for drinking water for Liverpool. And there was a lot of Welsh nationalism at that time against English, and so we couldn't get into the stadium to play for a period of time. The police eventually got us in there. And I was a 16-year-old kid. I'm like, what the hell have I got to do with water and reservoirs? But it's all the same principles, and I understand the environmentalist. I mean, I sit there and go, why does global warming have to become a political issue? I mean, I want clean drinking water for me and for my family and my kids and my grandkids, and I want clean air to breathe. So reasonable environmental rules that guarantee clean water and clean air make sense, whether you believe that the root cause is global warming or not.
Yeah. That's always fun. I ran for Congress, 7th Congressional District in Colorado about a decade ago. And in that, you're always accused they want dirty air. No, we all want clean air. We all want clean water. We just have a few different viewpoints, but they always make it sound extreme. Bernie, real quick, I want to talk about the day we live in. I've since got a little bit more optimism. I sense some people going, okay, maybe better days are ahead. We've come through a dark period with the COVID, high inflation. You've written a book about your story, Reimagining the American Dream, and you have quite a story. Are you feeling optimistic that the American dream is about to be recaptured and maybe there's going to be a new surge of that passion and understanding of the American dream?
Very much so, Jimmy. Right before the election, I was ready to shoot the television. Here in Colorado, it wasn't my district, but if I heard one more Dira Caravero, Gabe Evans commercial, I was going to shoot them both. Enough already. And one of the things I recommended in the book was that we stop allowing commercials, election commercials, where all it does is rip the crap out of the opponent. That instead, all you can do is talk about your philosophy, your manifesto. Here's who I am. Here's what I stand for. Okay? You make the judgment of whether you think I'm better than my opponent. And I know that these negative ads really are very effective, and that's why people do them. But stop it. I don't need you, and I certainly don't need movie stars and entertainment people, to tell me who to vote for. Boy, that worked out well for Biden and Kamala Harris, didn't it?
Yeah.
So yes, so that was the state before the election. I didn't think that Trump was going to have such a resounding victory, and he did. And I think, let's leave out the extreme left woke who, had to have a therapist for, the month after the election. I think the results of the election was so resoundingly strong in favor of basic American values that the message was clear. I'm hoping that Donald will, less comments, less tweaking people's noses, and just get the job done. Come out with all the standing orders on day one, solve our immigration problems, the major parts of the immigration system, get Congress to solve it. Do what you can on inflation, which obviously is very much directed at the energy and availability of energy, reducing the actual transportation costs of goods, or at least hold inflation down if you can't roll it backwards, and solve the border, solve the crisis of crime and the other issues. But I do believe in the 2 months since the election. People feel very optimistic, and I personally feel optimistic, and I'm excited by that. And more people, even our governor here in Colorado, Jared Polis, saying, I'm looking at ways of where I can work with the administration, because who does not want to get rid of immigrant criminals? I'm an immigrant. I came from England 52 years ago. I like to think I've contributed to America and been a good American, and created in my 4 kids and 6 grandkids great Americans. So, I feel very optimistic that we. And the one thing, Jimmy, is I'm not a MAGA fan, and it's not. I'm not a Trump fan, or anybody else. I think America's already great. I think that we're not excellent. I think we've slid from being the excellent country when I came here in the 70s, and I think we need to get back to being excellent, but I think we're great. And my illustration of that is the millions of people willing to walk thousands of miles through Central America to get here, to be here, to live here, to enjoy the American dream. You know, the tens of thousands of people that get in these rickety boats in the Caribbean, you know, to come to America, to be American, and to experience what we have to offer. That to me says we're the greatest country on earth. But we can be better. And so let's make us better.
The name of your book is called Reimagining America's Dream. You're also the founder and the chairman of the Aspire Group, and you've worked with a lot of partners to grow revenues and attendance and sporting events and things, and people look up the Aspire Group and look you up. If folks want a copy of Reimagining America's Dream, Reimagining America's Dream, where do they find that, Bernie?
They find it's a 5-star best-selling book on Amazon, Kobo, Barnes & Noble, any bookstore, Jimmy, and thank you, because all the proceeds of the book and of my management consulting that I do goes to the Aspire Difference Foundation. It supports single parents that have preschool kids with the goal of those kids being able to read and write, do basic math, and be socialized for success. That's what's going to turn America around more than anything else, is the 37 million living in poverty. We raise them above the poverty line. And that's where the book talks about the investment in youth, free preschool for all kids. Parents save 10 grand a year in that, minimum wage that is livable so people can exist and raise their family on one kid. I am a fiscal conservative, but a big heart. And I think that's where we need to invest in our own people, particularly with our own young kids.
Bernie Mullen, Reimagining America's Dream. I appreciate you hopping on. We'll have to work out that breakfast sometime when I'm down south or you're up north, and or maybe we meet in the middle sometime. Bernie, thank you. God bless you, my friend. I appreciate you hopping on. Reimagining America's Dream. Producer Chad, I'm going to get through the rest of this list, but real quick, could you take us up to the second floor of the Legacy Christian Academy that I'm building there in Rwanda? This is a video that I took in November, and I just want to play that for you. So, Producer Chad, let's roll second floor video. Hey everybody, checking in here. Rivers Promise Legacy Christian Academy. I'm on the second level. Take a little tour of all the classrooms, staff room. Primary 4, that means 4th grade, by the way. Great kids. There's one of our teachers walking. I love it. They wear these laboratory coats as a teacher. It's like their official uniform. That's kind of cool. So, hey, right behind me is the first building. Right over there where that little metal building, that's where we're going to, hopefully on the top of the hill, soon start construction of our next building. And then the other final building will go there behind the vehicle. And right in the middle where the flag is going to be our pavilion. That'll be a cafeteria. Right now we feed the kids out of that building right there. That was our original kindergarten. And we use it now as a kind of a food preparation. The kids will in just a few minutes go get their lunch. So hey, to all of the sponsors that sponsor children here, I don't know all of this. I know all the. I don't know who matches with who, but hopefully in some of the videos we'll send out, you'll see one of your sponsored kids. Hey, thanks everybody. God bless. Rivers Promise Legacy Christian Academy. Phase 1. We're here getting ready for phase 2. Yeah, I wanted you to hear that because we're going to come back. We're going to talk about the funeral and a couple of more topics here of Jimmy Carter. But I wanted to break up the monotony. Do you hear the noise in the background? All those kids, all those children. Now, this past 2 weeks ago Sunday, so I was just there in Rwanda again in December, and I snuck onto campus. It's normally loud. It's 150 kids in that one building, and we got other kids that go to other schools because until we finish our construction, so it's a very noisy place at times, and it's hard to kind of concentrate. And it's hot and sweaty. But listen to the quiet of this one. This is the next video. This is me sneaking in a covert operation. I didn't tell anyone I was coming. Even the watchman, the guards, the property did not know I was coming. He was surprised, thought he had an intruder for a moment. But this is me sneaking in, and the noise difference is stark. Listen to this one, sneaking in. Unusually quiet at Legacy Christian Academy today because I've snuck in undetected, under the radar, and I snuck in on a day that it's not a school day. But it's a great campus, getting ready to make big announcements about phase 2. What you're looking at behind me, phase 1. We got big plans. Got to finish up this campus soon. I'll let you know. All right, I just kind of tease that because the next couple of weeks, you see my logo for Rivers Promise behind me, the House of Lakey. That's the rest of the campus, and we're going to be announcing here real soon in the next several weeks. We're going to be announcing our capital plan to finish out that campus. We have a lot of money of matching funds that have already been given, and we're going to be talking about that. So everybody start saying your prayers and say, how can I help build the rest of that school? These are kids that normally wouldn't go to school. All right, let's go to the funeral of Jimmy Carter yesterday. What a fun, dysfunctional family that was. Let's watch. Producer Chad has put together kind of a little bit of the video of the chit-chat between Donald Trump and Barry Obama. And what do you think they were talking about? What do you think they were saying? What do you think were the whispers in the room were? A lot of you are putting up comments. Maybe I see Jeff put up and said, maybe Trump is saying, hey, did you hear about the one about the priest, the ex-vice president, Kamala Harris? Somebody said they were talking about Big Mike. Well, where's Michelle at? You didn't let her out of the house today? I don't know what they were talking about, but they were sure having a good time. And then there's this state out west that has a governor and 2 senators lining up to become the next Democrat presidential candidate. Maybe Jim's right. Maybe that's what. And maybe that's what caused Barack Obama to laugh, that with the dysfunction and idiots that have run the state of California, that they think that they're ready for prime time in the national stage. And the same thing I think could be said about Jared Polis. What do you think they said? What do you think they said? Let me know what you think they were talking about. And no, it doesn't have to be real serious. Producer Chad, let's roll that video of Donald Trump and Barry Obama. And I think we also have one of Kamala giving the stank eye. She was not happy that her old buddy Barry was doing it. Here they are laughing. Melania, she's so sophisticated, but I think she was just looking through like, let's get the heck out of here. I don't like this. I don't know. But they're having fun. The lip readers were on this thing. They're looking. There they are. Yeah, I don't know what they're talking about, but they're having a good time. It was nonstop. No one else was talking to anybody. There's Kamala. She looks back. Look at that. Oh, she's upset. She gave the stank eye. The stank eye. Anybody just, if you watch the whole thing, somebody just put up what a loser Karen Pence is. If you missed this, it's the first time that Donald Trump and Mike Pence have had any discourse. Earlier I said intercourse, but I realized that was the wrong word. I meant interaction. This was the first time that they had interaction, I guess, in 4 years. And he stood up and Pence stood up and greeted the president-elect, President Trump, and the former president. They shook hands, and it was fine. Karen Pence, you can see her right there over the shoulder of Laura Bush there, I think, in that video. Karen Pence sat there like, say, somebody had shoved a stapler on her chair, and she's sitting on staples. She just sat there sourpuss as can be. And what's up with Karen Pence? What a loser indeed. And Mike Pence at least had the dignity and the graciousness. Now, I didn't hear everybody talked about George W. Bush walked in and he gave a slap on the belly, kind of a frat boy, hey, you doing kind of thing to Barry Obama. But was it a snub? They walked right past the Trumps. And even Laura Bush did not seem to greet Melania Trump. And I know that there's some protocols. It's at a funeral. It's not a family reunion. Maybe they all met together. But it's interesting who did choose to shake hands and who chose not to shake hands. Bush walked right by the Trumps, and maybe they talked later, or maybe you could read into this, that if you recall, the Bush dynasty was brought down by Donald J. Trump, and he took on low-energy Jeb. Jeb had like $17 million ready to start a campaign, and he didn't make it very far at all. But yeah, it was just a fascinating dynamic. And then Kamala's there. And if you saw Kamala walk in, Hillary's giving her the stank eye. I don't think that Doug and Kamala, I don't think either one of them greeted anyone. Producer Chad said this in a pre-show early meeting. He said it was like a family. It's the most awkward Thanksgiving dinner ever. It really was. It was really bizarre. And Donald Trump seems to be the only one with any joy in the room. And Barack Obama, they seem to be the only ones happy to be there. Not because it's a funeral, but they're just, hey, let's just all relax and have a good time. Another thing that I thought was interesting, if you watched it, see the video right there? Joe Biden's walked in. Now, he's the president of the freaking United States of America. If I understand, I don't know what funeral protocol is, but aren't you supposed to stand when the president walks in? Nobody stands up. Nobody's even looking at him. Bill Clinton's like, I'm not going to look at his sorry old ass. It was the most weird thing. If anybody had thoughts on that, let me know. I would love to get your thoughts on that whole saga that happened yesterday. And again, Donald Trump was the only one, and Barack Obama seemed to be the only one that had any fun. Everybody else, it looked like someone had peed in their Cheerios that morning, and they were not having a good time there. And I know it's a funeral, but obviously there was some interaction. It wasn't like it was, well, they had to be sanctimonious and solemn. No, they were having fun when they wanted to have fun, but a lot of them were just not happy to be there. It was really, really, really weird. All right, Jim says, I'll give you 20-1 that Joe poops his pants before this is all done. He might have pooped his pants yesterday. I don't know. All right, what do you think they were saying, producer Chad? If you put that meme up again of Donald Trump and Donald Trump and yeah, there they are, Barack Obama talking, and what do you think they were actually saying? That's probably a good caption there. That he actually said he'd say in the race he would have won, and Barack laughs. What do you think they were talking about? You can put words in their mouth right here. Let us know what you think they were actually talking about. Another interesting thing that it's at the funeral that happened that became a brouhaha is that there was a song, and it was a weird song for a Christian funeral, especially. Let me pull up the story here from the Fox News. It's up on the MSN website as well. Social media erupts over a funeral song that was sung, the late former President Jimmy Carter's funeral. There was the 1971 version of John Lennon singing Imagine, but it's the use of a song at a state funeral ceremony that set off a firestorm, especially that say it wasn't fit in the memorial service in a Christian church. On Thursday, the tune was performed by fellow Georgian Trisha Yearwood and her husband Garth Brooks during the Washington Cathedral's National Cathedral service. 1 year earlier, Brooks and Yearwood performed it at former First Lady Rosalind Carter's wake as well. The country star previously worked with Carter on several Habitat for Humanity projects. But social media was lighting up yesterday because you're in a Christian church. You have Jimmy Carter, who taught Sunday school in the Baptist church, and the lyric of this song is pretty much the antithesis of Christianity. Imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try. No hell below us, only sky. And that's the first line of the song. And several ex-observers on Twitter, including top conservatives, questioned the using the song, and while others differed. And then a couple of people, Eric Erickson, commentators, said this, having Biden lecture us about what a strong Christian Jimmy Carter was before the crowd sits down and has to listen to Imagine, where there's no heaven, and it's easy to think about a great world like that if you try. That seems like that's very strange for someone who's a devout Southern Baptist. So that was such a weird, dysfunctional thing. And why they chose that song, maybe the family chose that song. Maybe the family doesn't even know what the lyrics say. But it did seem to be kind of weird to have that as part of the funeral procession. Anybody notice that yesterday? What were the most strange things? The biggest losers of that? I think the Pences. Mike Pence showed that he's probably a decent human being. Karen Pence showed that she was just outclassed by everybody, sitting there on her big ass, just not moving, not budging, and looking solemn. Not even a pleasant look at Melania. And I don't know all that's gone down behind the scenes and conversations they had with Mike Pence. I just know that this was the first time supposedly they had met and shook hands together. And Mike Pence had the dignity to stand up and give a greeting to Donald Trump. But Karen Pence sitting there like that was just she's like a bump on a log there, and it was really, really strange. And I still don't know. Nobody's commented that was that a snub by the Bushes of the Trumps when they walked by. I don't know. But I thought the very interesting thing is that Kamala was up on the front row because she's the sitting vice president, and then Doug was with her, and then you had Joe and Jill come in. Oh, that was the other thing. Just see the look between Jill, or the non-look between Jill and Kamala. There is obviously some very, very, very bad blood there. I mean, very bad blood. There was no, not even a pleasant smile like, hi, how are you doing, Jill? Good to see you. It was nothing. It was just steely glares. And I'm thinking if you would have been in high school, there might have been a cat fight breakout between Jill and Kamala. I'm thinking it could have happened. It was bizarre. I mean, it really was bizarre. Go back and watch it because it was the most screwed up bunch of people you've ever seen in your life. Ann says, read that Melania's mother had passed away 1 year ago. Was it a year to the date? Yeah, her mom had passed away, but so I don't know. Melania always looks very solemn. That's just her demeanor. I think that's also probably her culture. She's just very solemn. But Melania looked beautiful, but she didn't seem. She's one you just can't read. Her facial expression pretty much stays. She's pretty even keel, and I couldn't read what she was thinking about that yesterday. But it was really very, very strange. All right, a couple more stories I want to get to before we head to the weekend. Jared Polis gave his State of the State address here in the great state of Colorado. If you're listening outside of the state, we have an idiot for a governor. I mean, there's probably more idiotic governors, but Jared Polis looks in the mirror every morning at his glorious face and says, gosh, I wish I could be Gavin Newsom. He wants to be Gavin Newsom in policy. All these failed policies in California, Jared Polis would love to have those here in Colorado, but he doesn't. Well, Jared Polis made a State of the State. And remember when Donald Trump got elected, they were all, they're going to deport the illegals, you racist. They were going to, yeah. Well, evidently Jared Polis has changed his mind. Remember, it became a national news story a couple of weeks ago that Tom Homan, the Homeland Security Secretary nominee, said, hey, I'm going to, Mike Johnson is the mayor of Denver, and he says he'll be arrested because you're not going to come into his city or county. And Tom Homan said, I'll be happy to arrest him. And evidently, Governor Polis was going to be part of Gavin Newsom's organizing the resistance. Well, Governor Polis now says he welcomes federal agents helping to deport undocumented criminals. Well, looky there. Look who might be running for president in 4 years. Jared Polis decides that he's finally learned a lesson, maybe from this past election, that Americans don't want, that first and foremost, we don't want these people coming in here undocumented committing crimes, and you got to get your ass out of our country. And Governor Polis has announced he welcomes federal agents deporting undocumented criminals. Now, here's the hypocrisy of it all. It's Jared Polis who also signed a bill that makes it illegal for local law enforcement to communicate with ICE. So that would be something that if the media would ever ask him the question, Jared, you say that you're for them working with for the federal agents coming in to remove them. Are you going to have the legislature this session repeal the law that makes it illegal for a sheriff or police department to communicate with ICE? We have someone you have a holder on. I mean, so Jared Polis, somebody just posted, is a snake, and he really is. I mean, because he says this thing that he's all for these federal agents coming in and deporting them. However, if your sheriff or your police department want to call ICE and say, hey, we have this guy in our jail, and we know you want him. You want to come pick him up, you can have him. It's illegal for a law enforcement agency in Colorado to do that, and it's only illegal because Jared Polis signed the bill. So Jared Polis speaks with forked tongue is what he is. Jared, if you're watching this, if any of your ilks are watching this, why is it that you signed a bill that bans local law enforcement from contacting Immigration Customs Enforcement, and then you flap your big lips on the television in the State of the State and say you really welcome these federal agents coming in and deporting him? Jared Polis, you can't have it both ways. And I don't mean that in a sexual sense, because you can do what you want sexually. But I'm talking about it politically. We're not going to let you get by with that. You signed a bill that makes it hard and almost impossible for federal agents to remove criminal illegals in the state that are in a jail cell. They cannot be removed by ICE. We can't communicate. It's illegal. You signed that bill, and then you have the gall, you jackwagon, to get up there and tell people that you're really looking forward to law enforcement federal agents coming in and taking out the criminals. Then are you going to go on the record, you jackwagon governor, and are you going to ask for these for the bill that you signed to be overturned? He speaks one way, that he's all, we got to get rid of these illegals, right? These criminal illegals, got to get rid of them. And yet Jared Polis made it almost impossible when he signed a bill 2 years ago, because local law enforcement sheriffs cannot communicate with Immigration Customs Enforcement. I hope that some of the media will call Jared Polis out for being the fat hypocrite that he is. I hope that Jared Polis will get called out by the media, the bloggers, get him tagged on Twitter and say, Jared, you speak with forked tongue. Are you really wanting to get rid of the illegal criminals? Or are you just saying that because you want to go on the record and have a headline that you can put out and say that you're a great guy and a moderate governor? Jared Polis, you're a radical leftist, and you're a fibber is what you are, a fibber. We don't use the word fib enough. You don't fib. Anyway, we'll talk more about that. But it's you think you read the headline, you're like, Jared, that's great. He wants to get rid of the illegals, illegal criminals. He made it impossible to get rid of the illegal criminals here. So he's a lying sack of Jewia. That's what he is. And he needs to be called out about that. All right, what else do I have here? We have the breaking news of the morning. An unconditional discharge allows Donald Trump now to appeal. He'll appeal that. It'll probably be purged. Next time, I started the show with some advice. Next time you have somebody, one of your radical leftists out there that say, Donald Trump's a felon. I can't believe you support a felon. You look at him like this. Yeah, you know, he is a felon. Reminds me a lot of Nelson Mandela. That'll shut their pie hole up. That's what that'll do. That'll shut their pie hole right up. It'll make them close their mouth, and they will be very, very good to hear their mouths being closed. All right, I haven't pushed this today, but I want to push it now. If I mentioned it one time, patreon.com/Jimmy Lakey. Oh, by the way, yes, producer Chad has that thing up. When you use this anywhere, we use the hashtag Lakey Unleashed on the Twitter, on the Rumble. Use those hashtags out there, Lakey Unleashed. I always use my name as well, Lakey, and that helps spread the word. And whatever platform you're listening on this, whatever platform you're listening to this program on, I hope that you will like it and you'll share it and you'll tell your friends about it. You have all been deputized this week as an ambassador of the Lakey Unleashed show. Look at there. Somebody says, where's Michelle Obama? She was on an extended vacation. At the funeral, she was on extended vacation. I'm looking at the chat room. Yeah. I don't know who was she vacationing with? If you're a lady like that and your husband's at a funeral and you're out in Hawaii, was she on a girl's trip, a boy's trip? Was she? I don't know. I wouldn't be sitting with the Clintons. We're still doing the labels of the day. What was Donald Trump and Barry Obama talking about? That they seem to really be enjoying it. They're a good conversation. Keep those memes coming. All right, I mentioned this earlier. Use the hashtag Lakey Unleashed, but also don't forget the Patreon page. First of all, everybody out there, whether you're going to pay for it or not, go to Patreon. And you can, if you click on any of the past daily Unleashed daily updates, those are free. But what it does is it puts everything in one place for us. And you'll get it. If you miss one morning, you're going to get a ping from Patreon. A daily update has been uploaded. You don't have to enter a credit card. It's just you just become a subscriber. That's it, free. Now, there's some content on that Patreon page, patreon.com/Jimmy Lakey, that I'm proud of. I think it's really good stuff. And we played the Dr. John Thorpe this morning. There's going to be one that drops on Monday. And the one that drops on Monday is going to be absolutely fantastic. It's Leighton Gray, who's a lawyer in Canada, and we do a deep dive into all things Justin Trudeau. We do a deep dive into elections there. We do a deep dive into the history. We go back into the history of Pierre Trudeau, I think was his father's name. He was a Marxist. His son, the apple didn't fall far from the tree, if that's truly his father. Is it? We don't know. Anyway, no DNA testing. So we got the Pierre Trudeau's. All that's going to drop on Monday. That's behind the paywall. So you on Patreon, patreon.com/Jimmy Lakey, you can be free. And you know the thing. Now, if you click on one of the things that require payment, you get a 7-day free trial. And they'll ask you to put a card in, but just cancel it if you think it sucks and don't do it. It's $9.95 a month. And that's one of the ways that you can keep this daily update coming for free. I'm looking... You look down the calendar in a while and say, how long do you do a free daily update? Well, I want you to help. First of all, the other way you're going to help us is some of you want to advertise. And if you'd like to be an advertiser on this program, I'd love to have you. Again, we want to continue. When I got poop can kicked to the curb by the big corporate radio giants, a lot of you said, hey, we want to keep hearing you. A lot of you have followed us here, but now it's time to help us out. Go like and subscribe to the Patreon page if you're financially able. That'd be a great thing. But advertise with us. As a matter of fact, right now, you see my charity right there behind me. The logo's there on right by the House of Lakey logo. Our goal is to have those replaced with maybe your business out there. We'd love to have your business become our studio sponsor. You will get a lot of response, I promise you. And there's other ways. There's ways to just very simple ways, really relatively inexpensive ways. And you don't have to be Colorado-based. A lot of you think of me as a Colorado guy, but this is an opportunity for this show and our voices to all be heard across America streaming. And so, hey, if you're a business owner and you'd like there's a lot of options, and I'll be happy to send you a marketing kit to your inbox. There's no obligation. We sent out a bunch of marketing kits yesterday to people who had requested or we wanted to just invite them to come on the program. Some of them are limited. There's some packages only do one of them, and you got to get in on the ground floor. It's called the Founding Fathers. If you want to see this continue, the Patreon page, and also advertising and marketing, and even if it's a foundation, there's a lot of ways to do it. You don't even have to have a business. If you're just some rich dude that want to keep this thing going, we'll put your face up there next to the logo. We'll do that as well. It'll be great. It'll be fantastic. All right, I think we've covered all of it indeed, and I appreciate all of you. Listen, we're what 4 weeks into this thing. About 4 weeks into this thing, we took a whole week off. So, but it's been a hoot so far, and we're trying to get better at it. Trying to give you content that you can enjoy and find it entertaining and informative. And I appreciate you being there. We're going to watch this story over the weekend. The fires in California. Sarah just said, Jimmy, did you hear in California they arrested an arsonist? Actually, residents got this guy. I did not hear that. I was reading some speculation that. I don't even want to further the speculation is whether or not some kind of an encampment had maybe sparked a fire somewhere or something. I don't know. We're going to continue to follow the fires. This fire thing is going to be a very, very big story. All right. One more reminder. January the 20th, 1 week from this coming Monday, Casbar Cigar in Lafayette, Colorado. We are going to have an epic cigar party and inauguration party. We're going to do the daily stream. The daily update, we're going to do an extended version. We will be broadcasting from the Casbar Cigar, Lafayette, Colorado. It's Inauguration Day. It's a free event. It's first come, first serve, though. Get there earlier as you can. The doors will open just around 8 o'clock, right about the time, maybe just a little bit before 8 o'clock, we'll get the doors open. And I wish you do the very, very best you can to get there. Listen, I'm going to tell you, there's going to be cigars there. You can buy cigars, and it's going to be fantastic. So if people smoking cigars is bothersome to you, don't come. Don't come. But hey, I always tell this. I always say this on Father's Day. If your dad doesn't smoke a cigar, then happy Mother's Day to him. So this is a great. And ladies, cigars are not just a man thing. It's a ladies thing. A lot of ladies there. It's going to be a fun time. It's in the beautiful Lafayette, Colorado, a liberal enclave, and we're going to be a bastion of conservative hope. Jeff says, how long is the event going to last? Well, Casbar Cigar normally, I think, opens at 11 a.m. They're opening up early for us, and they're open till 9 o'clock at night. So the event itself, we're going to broadcast for a couple of hours. I'm sure I'll hang out, and producer Chad and I'll hang out, and we'll hang out until we're sobered up. Or at least until the Uber driver comes, and then we'll go home. But yeah, you can stay as long as you want. It's a regular establishment. The event itself, a couple of hours, get the inauguration, and then it'll just going to be good. And it's fantastic. Could be fun. January the 20th. It's a Monday, week from Monday. And normally the Casbar Lafayette location opens at 11. They're opening early for us that morning. The doors will open just before 8 o'clock. And get in. There's got some nice leather chairs you can sit in if you get there early enough to claim one. We're going to be doing this show from there, and it's going to be a lot of fun. January the 20th, everybody. If you're out of town, Lafayette is if you're out of town flying in, I'd love for you to do that. Some of you out of staters, come on in. Catch that Southwest Airlines flight. Catch that United flight. It's United Hub. Go to Denver International Airport. You take the tollway around you take the tollway around to, right into the Lafayette, Louisville area, 287, and you zip up there. It's not far. Just outside of Longmont, just outside of Boulder, Colorado. Come on up and see us, and stay the night, stay the weekend, and everybody celebrate our 47th President of the United States. Come celebrate with myself. Producer Chad will be there. And again, how long does the event last? It lasts until we're sobered up. And no, we would never drink that much alcohol to celebrate. I want to remember it. I really do. All right. Good to have all of you here. God bless you. Don't forget my charity, riverspromise.org. I'd love to have you slip us a donation today. In the next 5 days, we're going to be sending another amount of money. We're going to be sending another amount of money over there and to Africa to take care of the kids. That's a great idea. Jim just put up there. Will there be food trucks? You know, I don't know. I don't own the business. Let me talk. Well, producer Chad and I should talk to some folks and see with the owners, Tony and Clayton, and see if they want to. They know some food trucks. That's a great idea. Now, I will tell you, just to give you a lay of the land kind of behind the scenes, there's also one of the most, I think, smallest grocery stores and liquor stores. It's right there next door. They have it's a great place. They have little snacks and sandwiches. That's a great idea. We ought to get. I don't own the establishment, my friends. I'm just hosting a show there. But let's see. Maybe a food truck would be fun. That'd be fun. Well, I was going to bring a box of donuts, but I think that's just for me. You can bring your food, though, and DoorDash and stuff. We'll work out the details. Jim's, everybody's throwing ideas out. We got to go. Use the food truck as a fundraiser. Well, a fundraiser for the food truck. Hey, I see Heller's Kitchen. Troy, if that's you, you got a food truck? We should talk. Heller's Kitchen, I know them. They had some of the best. Troy, the COVID and Jared Polis ended up kind of hurting the business up there, but they had two great restaurants in Fort Collins and Windsor, Colorado, called Cacciatore. Oh my God, it's the best Italian food you'd have anywhere this side of Italy. It's fantastic, and he's a great chef and friend of the program. Been on the program before, talking about the state of the restaurant industry across America. So I don't think Troy has a food truck though. Okay, everybody stop it. It's like we're having a private conversation here. What do you think? You got to pay extra for private conversation. Patreon.com/Jimmy Lakey. You pay enough money there, you can have all the private conversations you want with me. I'll even show you my feet if you want to. No. Everybody have a good weekend. When does the drinking start, Chad? University of Texas plays football tonight. Hook 'em horns. Hey, have you made a donation to charity? Jesus just called me and said you should donate to charity right now. I made that up. That's not really true. But you should donate to charity. Jesus didn't call. He wrote on the wall instead. It was a thing. Everybody, God bless you. God bless America. Hey, help spread the word about the show. Tell everybody. Tell all your neighbors. It's infotainment at its best. I love you all. God bless you. Info@JimmyLakey.com if you want to advertise. I'm Jimmy Lakey. God bless you. God bless America. I got to shut up. We're having like a private conversation right here. Get me off this. All right, I got to cut it. I love that. That right there is classic. That's why I like all of you. You're sick and twisted. Food trucks, and let's have some bouncy houses for the Dems coming in from Boulder. We bouncy castles. Forget for the Dems. If there's a bouncy castle and there's enough booze, we'll all be bouncing around, jumping for joy out there. Listen, for some of you, you're so out of shape that a bouncy castle is about the only way you're going to get any air anyway to celebrate. So let's talk about the bouncy castles. I think that would be a good thing. Yeah, there's also jousting, those big fat suits of sumo suits you can put on. We should do some of that as well. You guys are sick and wrong. Have a good weekend. Knock it off. Everybody go to work. Get your, hey, oh, that meme right there. That's a wiener holder. I got to go. I really... Some of you are still here. I told you class is dismissed. Run along now. Run along. I'll work on food trucks. I really won't. Run along.